Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
We made this.
Hello and welcome back, listeners, to We Are Starfleet. My name is Mike Slamer, and with me in the captain's chair is Ian Buckley. Ian, happy Frontier Day.
Happy Frontier Day.
It has been a little bit of time since we have been on a break. There's been, we personally have not been actively covering any Star Trek on this podcast, but we've been guesting around, we've been doing different things. It feels good to be back here.
It does, yeah. It's always good to be in the captain's chair, sharing it with you, of course. And yeah, I'm eager to talk to you about and talk to our listeners about the new direction that We Are Starfleet is going to be taking. A refit, you might call it.
A refit. We Are Starfleet A or B. Maybe it's B because we've
or
had...
C now.
It could be C. Yes, we're undergoing a refit model. We are sadly ceasing our coverage of Star Trek Prodigy. Listeners, if you've been with us, you know that season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy had like a mid-season break. And stay with us here. There's a lot of characters involved, but there was another podcast covering the animated series. Our parent network, our Starfleet headquarters, if you will, decided that we were going to cover Star Trek Prodigy, and now we are not. That's not to say that we won't talk Prodigy here on the podcast. You know, maybe, Ian, we might come back with Ashley or Craig to talk, an episode here or there.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, given how big fans we are all of it. So yeah, can't say that I'm not sad to see it go from our feed, but obviously I expect them to do it justice over there, and I'm sure we'll pop up over there to talk about it ourselves as well.
Yeah, and over there is our sister podcast, Make It So, which historically was covering Picard, and now they're rebranding themselves.
Yeah, so the bottom line basically is Make It So is going to be taking over coverage of all 24th and 25th centuries of Star Trek conversation, while we'll continue to cover the 22nd, 23rd centuries, and of course the 32nd century as we wrap up our discussion of Star Trek Discovery's final season.
Yeah, season 5 of Star Trek Discovery. Ian, I was maybe not surprised to hear that they were, making this the last season. What do you think?
I was a little surprised. I thought that given that it was the flagship Star Trek show, it was the show that relaunched Star Trek in, was it 2017 now? It's been ages. I kind of figured that it would keep carrying that flag forward. Now it's possible that there will be other shows spun off of Discovery. I don't know if we've gotten confirmation about what era the Starfleet Academy is going to be taking place. It may be taking place in that era, the 32nd century. So it's possible that we'll still be talking about some of these characters, or certainly at least this era of Star Trek.
Yeah, we don't have confirmation on what era, but popular opinion has it in the 32nd century for Starfleet Academy. And if it brings back Tilly, which a lot of people are talking, Tilly leaving the Discovery in season 4 to go to Starfleet headquarters to help rebuild the Federation, to help rebuild Starfleet. If that all comes into the story, it makes perfect sense. You can still have Doug Jones as Saru make appearances. Fan favorite Oded Fair as Admiral Vance could still be in the loop there. There's certainly opportunities for that story.
Absolutely. Yeah. And while we're speaking of eras, we can presumably be picking up with Section 31 back in the 23rd century, where Giorgio was presumably returned in season 4 of Discovery. So I think that wherever that movie is going to be starting, at least its story, it will be back in the 23rd century, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad that they announced like a mini movie slash event for Paramount Plus rather than a proper season or a proper television show. Like even if it's a mini series, I think a Section 31 story that follows a movie made for streaming, or if it's a mini series, I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, they can dedicate whatever budget they had earmarked to spread out over the course of a series or even a mini series, and dedicate it towards making a really, hopefully, compelling 2-hour feature film that will be a way of wrapping up, I presume, wrapping up Giorgio's time in the Star Trek universe, at least for now.
At least for now. And of course, with the announcement of Strange New Worlds Season 2, it's a good time to announce, Ian, that our podcast, We Are Starfleet, is returning for regular episodic coverage.
Yes, of Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, we covered all of season 1 with our regular Trekkie roundtable of guests. So listeners will continue to hear a variety of thoughts and opinions on each episode as the show unfolds in real time. Strange New Worlds currently has 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.2 on IMDb. The series is highly rated, and all the fans, and of course you and I, are super excited for it to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were both big fans of the first season. We each had a lot of fun with it. And nothing that I saw in the trailer that we each just watched again has led me to believe that season 2 won't be more of the same.
Yeah, definitely the same, great level of action, humor, and drama in season 2. Okay, so we just watched it. What did you think about the trailer? Anything stand out to you?
I know that sometimes the inclusion of popular music with Star Trek media is a little bit controversial. I really liked the trailer, liked the music, liked the whole vibe. It seemed it seemed like everyone was having a really good time. Like that's sort of what Strange New Worlds feels like. We talked a lot about, or at least I talked a lot about, the vibe of the show, and it all seems like it's cruising on that level still in season 2. We know, and we didn't yet get a glimpse of it, that we're going to have a Lower Decks crossover, a show that we're both big fans of, with the Strange New Worlds crew. And just knowing that this show is already in only its second season, going there and doing like fun ideas that would sometimes pop up in like late seasons of like 90s TV series, like or on soap operas or something. You'd get crossover episodes sometimes, or you'd have like events around like anniversary specials or whatever in the Star Trek universe, like Trials and Tribulations, obviously.
Oh yeah.
but it's just a fun show, and everything that I saw in the trailer leads me to believe that season 2 is going to be really fun.
Yeah, likewise. It looks really fun, and I'm loving seeing the classic next generation style Klingon come back to
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, good to see the Klingons. I'm glad we're going to get plenty of them in season 2. Feels like we haven't gotten that in this era of Trek much, outside of the first couple of seasons of Discovery.
Right, right. As I was looking through the trailer, it kind of looked like we're going to be covering some of the Klingon War fallout, or negotiations following the Klingon War. There's a really blink and you miss it scene where it looks like Captain Pike is looking through binoculars and he sees a couple of Klingons in front of a gate. I don't know what it means, but could be that there are prisoners of some sort, or it's a recon mission, or something is happening. And I like this. It's connecting what happened in Discovery. It's connecting to the larger universe, and it's bringing it all together into a compelling story, which Captain Pike certainly has. And the rest of the crew, we don't really know too much about them, other than Spock, other than Una, other than Nurse Chapel. But now we get to see a little bit more of their adventures, and everyone's here for it.
Yeah, and on the subject of Klingons, that's I think what's exciting to me about seeing that they're making a return here is that we had the table kind of reset in terms of their relation with Starfleet a little bit in those first couple of of seasons of Discovery, and we know the kind of Cold War sort of status quo that they had with Starfleet by the time we were following Captain Kirk on his adventures. So we're in this
Hmm.
in between time now that we don't really know that much about. So it's an opportunity to flesh that part of the Star Trek universe out. And I do like the sort of compromise vision they have between the kind of 90s Klingon look and the Discovery Klingon look, where they've clearly used modern prostheses and makeup techniques while presenting something that's a little bit more recognizable to fans of the 90s series.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. And I think some of Star Trek's writing is always at its best when it's dealing with these little socio-political microcosms of society. The trailer also gives us Lieutenant Kirk. What's our thoughts on Paul Wesley returning?
The jury is out. That's probably my biggest kind of, certainly not a red flag at all, but my biggest, let's call it a yellow flag. We're
Okay.
cautious. I'm in a firmly wait and see mode. There was nothing about his appearance in the end of season 1 that made me run for the exits, but
Okay.
neither was I left, feeling like I did after the first appearance of Anson Mount as Captain Pike in Discovery, where I was like, wow, that fucking guy has something. Seriously, like that was the impression that Pike made instantaneously as a character.
Yeah.
And I realize that he doesn't carry the same weight of expectation of baggage as the James T. Kirk character does. But I was also a little bit more compelled by like Chris Pine, for example. So, like again, I'm not shitting on the guy. I haven't seen this performance in season 2. I just, nothing about him leapt off the screen as
Totally.
inoffensive as I found it. So,
Totally.
firmly in the wait and see camp.
Totally. I'm right there with you. Wait and see is the name of the game. It's important because this is a younger Kirk. This is not the Kirk who's captain of the Enterprise yet.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
he still has a lot to learn. He still has he's got some personality quirks. I tell you, Ian, I saw a comment on the trailer. Why do we read YouTube comments, people? We should disable all of them forever, for all time. But I saw a comment where, Paul Wesley as Kirk is going through the revolving door, and he's like, I don't know how they work. I'm from space. And then people are like, oh, he's actually from Iowa. He only works in space. This has already been talked about, blah, blah, blah. How could they not get it right? It's like, guys, he's a younger Kirk. He's still learning his place. Nobody is the same exact person that they are in one instance that they are to, like, 10, 20 years prior. We all grow, we all change. So I'm kind of excited to see what Paul Wesley is going to do with Kirk in terms of how he puts in this maybe wide-eyed, innocent is not the right way to put it, but a little more green, a little rougher around the edges.
Yeah, I think that people who are having problems with that line are maybe, well, they're not overthinking it. I think they're underthinking it. But to your point, it's that this is at least from the little glimpse we got in the trailer, seems to be a time travel story. It certainly looks like they're in what we would consider maybe present day.
Yeah.
They're clearly drawing parallels to Star Trek 4 with that not only storyline, but also that line of dialogue. Like it's clearly a reference to the line that middle-aged Kirk will say 30 years on. This is a very different person. Like anyone who's getting hung up on that is really missing the mark, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. But that's what I love about these trailers. They give you a taste of something, they let you talk about it, they let you get excited about it, and then, hopefully it delivers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I enjoyed the trailer. It was good. We are returning with regular coverage following the premiere of the episode. And Strange New Worlds Season 2 premieres on June 15th of 2023. So folks, make sure you're subscribed because the episode to review the premiere will drop on June 16th.
Yeah, it's coming up. We're just a month and a half away.
Give or take. Ian, did you recently have an opportunity to watch this other little show that came to a close, Star Trek Picard?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I missed that one.
Oh, bummer. I really wanted to talk about it.
Is it good? Did you like it?
Oh, I liked it. I think it's good. It's got some interesting storylines and some interesting quirky moments. But yeah, fans of Cardassians and Pa Wraiths will absolutely love this show.
Yeah, I think my impression of the show overall was very positive. I'd say, if I had to give it like a number rating, it's probably like an 8 out of 10. In my mind, it's more or less.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper? A woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver. I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I think my biggest frustration with the show, like, look, I have, like many people do, individual nitpicks about scenes or episodes, whatever. There are some episodes that really left me feeling a little cold. And then there are other episodes that I was thrilled by. So to me, this season was much more positive than negative overall. We're all going to have different things about it that are going to bump us. I'm sure that there are things about it that I liked that you didn't, and vice versa. So that's just going to be the way it is. But I think in terms of overall quality and like the just sort of the idea of getting the gang all back together, I feel like I wish this had been like season 1 or just a mini series event. Like, I know that that's ridiculous to want because Patrick Stewart has been very clear he would not have agreed to do that. And I believe him. Like, I think that season 1 and 2 had to be, I'm sorry to say, but more or less creative failures to to happen in order for him to agree to do this. Like I don't know that for a fact, but I suspect that there were some behind the scenes like pressures on the creative team to be like, look, let's just we've only got one more season, guys. Let's just give the fans what they want. Like, come on, what are we doing? We cannot have 3 freaking shots at this and blow all 3. And that's not, again, I don't want to come across like there aren't good things about seasons 1 and 2, but I think big picture, many fans were left unsatisfied by season 1 and even more so by season 2. I know personally I was, even though I think I liked elements of each more than a lot of fans. I don't consider season 2 to be even an okay season of television.
That's fair. That's totally fair. For me, I'm kind of around the same opinion. I love to get bogged down into like little nitpicky conversations, and on our Discord group, you'll always see me, going back and forth with anyone else who's interested in talking about it. But overall, I really enjoyed the season. Like you said, it gives fans a lot of what I think people were looking for in seasons 1 and 2, and they just didn't get. So creatively speaking, seasons 1 and 2 weren't quite the success they had hoped it to be, but season 3 certainly seems to have met those metrics for them. And I gotta say, for season 3, more things left me happy than not, which is always a good thing. But the finale kind of left me wanting. There were a couple of storylines that seemed to have gotten left and not really satisfactorily covered. And that's okay. Maybe they're leaving it open for the novel verse or the comics to cover. And of course, Captain Shaw. Love my guy Todd Stashwick. He did a phenomenal job in the captain's seat. Was really disappointed with how his character arc came to an end. Well, not disappointed in the writing. I actually thought it was a good, deserved character growth moment. It just, I wanted my guy to be there at the very end.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Star Trek Picard was great, and I think it has something there for everybody.
Yeah, I think that there is, for me, the finale, for the most part worked. I was thrilled, I was moved. I was just like had the little Trekkie in me, like directly fan serviced in the ways that I mostly appreciated. Like I'll say I mostly, not everything, but mostly appreciated. And I think for me, like there were some stretches of episodes in this season that were just fantastic. Like, I'm sorry, like I don't want to apologize for my enthusiasm, so I won't. But like the stretch from like, I think it was like episodes like 3, 4, 5, like that's all great stuff. I'm sorry. That's all really good. And I think that, there were 1 or 2 episodes in the season that left me, like I said, feeling kind of cold. But overall, for me, they stuck the landing at the end. And I think, like I said, I'm not giving this show a 10 out of 10. But look, I really liked it. I loved it even. I really did. And it is something that I would rewatch where I'm not trying to shit on people who like season 1 or 2 of the show, but like I haven't rewatched those seasons and I don't plan to, frankly.
That's fair. Yeah. I have not rewatched seasons 1 and 2. Would I rewatch season 3? I'm probably going to need to give it some time.
I'm not going to watch it tomorrow, but yeah.
Sure. I'll come back to it. Yeah. It's good to see everybody like back together on the bridge.
It's good to see the gang back together. That's what I was saying about, like, I wish this had kind of been where they started this whole Picard reboot journey was just say, like, you know what, let's get the gang back together and then like give them a couple of new adventures to go on to wrap things up, or just have it be a 1 season event, like kind of like this was. Like you basically didn't need to watch seasons 1 and 2 to appreciate this show. It really did sort of function in the way that they talked a lot about season 1 being kind of like a season long movie, whereas this I think really actually accomplished that goal more or less.
Yeah, definitely more than less, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
Um,
certainly more than the last two seasons did, which I think,
yeah,
I think a lot of the fan appreciation, look, a lot of the fan appreciation of the show is absolutely 100% genuine, as is mine, but you can't help but divorce, evaluate it in the context of like where this series was after season
yeah,
two. Like, it's impossible for fans who just went through seasons one and two, who have come to this season and think, oh my god, thank god, finally. Like, I can't begrudge anyone that reaction.
no, for sure, for sure. If I had one major complaint, it was too much leather. There was too many leather jackets.
You didn't like the leather look?
It looked good on Worf.
Well, sure.
Most everything looks good on Worf.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for Strange New Worlds. Like I said, I think it's also important when we're talking about like my appreciation. I'll just talk for myself of
Oh yeah.
Picard. I think that there are a lot of fans who I think understandably look at Picard and think that like tonally and look wise, like it's not recognizably Star Trek to them. And I understand some of that. And I think that while I really enjoyed Picard, I also would not want all of Star Trek to look like this. I would not want this to be the like what we got as a Star Trek show from now on. I think it's totally fine that they're doing their own thing over there in their own way, and Strange New Worlds it's doing its own thing, as is Discovery, at least for one more season, as will presumably the Starfleet Academy show and whatever else they eventually spin off. I unfortunately don't think that we're going to get a legacy show anytime soon, especially with the looming writer strike and knowing that they'd probably have to. Picard is produced in LA. Everything else gets produced in Canada. So
Yeah.
anything that's going to be produced long term, you're talking about moving production from LA to Canada. That means that actor schedules have to be cleared. That means that like you're having to like hire and crew not just locally from LA, but also internationally up in Canada. And you're going to have to like build new sets in new places. And that's a whole, you're winding up production of a whole new series versus, the last season of a series that's already been in production. It's just a different ball game. And the writer's strike, who knows what shape that's going to take or how long that'll last. So, one way or the other, however it resolves, it may change the financial landscape of the streaming world a bit. So that's going to
That too.
affect
Yeah.
decisions when it comes to what gets greenlit down the road. So I think that people might need to pump the brakes a little bit. As exciting as I came away from the end of that series like. And if you had told me before the season began that I would feel this way, I would have not believed you. But like, they sold me on more show with these other characters that aren't the OG. Like, they not only managed to give, again, speaking for myself, a pretty satisfying conclusion to the story with the OG crew, but also simultaneously do a sort of soft launch pilot for this potential new series. And I was almost as equally compelled by that prospect as well. So I think they did a pretty good job of setting it up, but I think that people need to pump the brakes when it comes to their expectations about the inevitability of this show happening. It is not inevitable. As much as I want it to be, personally, it isn't.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Star Trek Legacy, it sounds like a great concept. People are excited about it. I see tweets every single day. Apparently, the fan petition has already surpassed the petition that went around for a Captain Pike-led series, which ultimately spawned Strange New Worlds. And conceptually, in addition to everything you just said about, monetarily does it make sense, moving set production doesn't make sense, scheduling doesn't make sense. Not just that, and the writer strike, but Star Trek Legacy, if fans get what they want, it's a crew on the Enterprise exploring new worlds. We already have a show that has a crew on the Enterprise exploring new worlds. So it doesn't make sense to have two shows doing the exact same thing. There needs to be some kind of a getcha in order to bring you in to watch a show that's essentially a copy paste of another one.
Right. Yeah. It's important to point out, I think, that even in this sort of, you know, if you want to, the golden era of Trek, when we had, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and then Enterprise, like one show, even if there was overlap on the tops and the tails of each series, like each series had its own distinct identity and was only starting when the previous one was kind of winding down. And crucially, you had Deep Space Nine as the buffer between Next Gen and Voyager, where you had a whole, stretch in the 90s where there was no, 5-year mission out in space. There's a ship exploring strange new worlds Trek show. And then you had Voyager, which at least tried to kind of do its own thing, even though it ended up being a little bit of a Next Gen clone by the end. In terms of the storytelling style, like It was very sort of like, problem of the week storytelling. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love that. But to the point you're making, there weren't multiple shows doing that kind of storytelling happening at the same time. That said, I think the problem might be somewhat mitigated by the fact that we have series that are so much shorter, that have so much more time in between them. So you're not getting 26 episodes of Strange New Worlds followed immediately by 26 episodes of Star Trek Legacy. You're getting 13 episodes of Strange New Worlds followed by a little bit of a hiatus, and then a season of Prodigy, and then a little bit of a hiatus, and then Star Trek Legacy, and then some Lower Decks, and then you're getting another Strange New Worlds. Like, you're piecing it out in ways that I don't think there's going to be, at least not yet, sort of Star Trek fatigue.
Yeah. That's one thing that we've talked about before on this podcast and elsewhere, is the fatigue in all these shows. And as much as like we want all Star Trek all the time, at the same, on the flip side of that is you are getting all Star Trek all the time. And how often can they put out quality scripts, quality episodes, quality VFX? Because like you see with the Marvel shows, it turns into, well, this story was really great, but this story suffered because they just had to churn it out. Or the VFX work wasn't that great, so nobody watched it because it looked bad. You have all these people who put in all this hard work and all this effort to put something quality on screen. It should come out to be quality. We shouldn't just rush it out. So I'm okay waiting. I don't mind having that time in between series, in between the air date of a premiere and the air date of a finale. That's totally fine with me. The only thing I would say is, instead of 10 episodes or 13, if we could just increase the number of episodes. They don't have to be so short, just for the sake of pacing, for the sake of, obviously I know scheduling is tough, but for the sake of pacing out the seasons. That's always one thing that I think, critically speaking, for me, it always seemed to be a failing point of some of the series, where the first half of the season paced great, everything's working, and then you spend the last 3 episodes of your season wrapping it all up at a lightning pace. So if anyone's out there, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think just finding the Goldilocks zone of how much story do we need to have for this length of a season. Like, if you're telling a heavily serialized story that is nevertheless, like, pretty densely plotted, like the last season of Picard, I think there wasn't a ton of filler. That was, most of the episodes had, something to do with the overall story, and it was moving something forward. Whereas there were episodes in season 2, not to keep bringing it up, we're just treading water. We're just dicking around. I'm sorry. We're just dicking around because COVID fucked production completely up.
It really did.
We just have to hang out in LA for a while. Like, what are we doing?
What kind of story can we tell in LA?
Right. It's just like, which they could have, but it's clear that they just didn't get there. Like, they just didn't get to where they needed to go. In that particular situation, whereas I think they largely succeeded in season 3. Likewise, heavily serialized storytelling like we see in Discovery, that works best when you have enough story to meet out over 13 episodes. Whereas I think they really have a bad habit in Discovery of stretching that story almost to, and sometimes past the breaking point in terms of how little you titrate out over the course of each episode.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Folks, make sure you check out Make It So, a Star Trek Legacy podcast, which has covered all 3 seasons of Picard. You can hear my voice on that show. You can hear Ian's voice on that show, as well as our fellow co-hosts who are not here today, Ashley Thomas and Craig McKenzie. And make sure you subscribe to us too. We are Starfleet, only on the We Made This network of podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Starfleet Pod. Ian, thank you so much for joining me today to discuss a little bit about our refit before we head out from Starbase One on our next journey.
Yeah, I'm excited to explore strange new worlds with you.
And folks, once again, thank you. Please follow us wherever you listen to good podcasts, a like, a subscribe, maybe even a 5-star review if you're so inclined.
Once again, this is We Are Starfleet, a Star Trek Strange New Worlds podcast. This is Mike Slammer, signing off.
Do you like music and do you like podcasts? Chances are you like music podcasts. Take this one for example, Pick a Disc. I'm Matt Latham, and every fortnight a guest comes on to Pick a Disc to talk about an album for any reason that they want to. They'll talk about the album as a whole, we talk about songs, we talk about any personal stories about the album, and if they've ever seen the band live, and all sorts of other crazy tangents. And if at any point any of that made you want to listen to Pick a Disc, then you can find us on your podcast apps of choice or on the Facebooks and Twitters and Instagram under Pick a Disc. We're also on the We Made This Podcast Network on WeMadeThisNetwork.com and on Twitter at We_made this. Goodbye.